My event, called GunCon, was targeted by hateful bigots that tried to stop the event. Let me explain. GunCon this year was a big success. This year we had even more brands, sold even more tickets to the public, and had even more new product launches than ever before, and more content creators. It was amazing. GunCon is unlike most other big gun events because it has a huge focus on building a better gun community. We welcome gun owners of all kinds. Doesn't matter the race, gender, whatever identifying attributes. We don't care when it comes to GunCon because gun rights are human rights. And for all intents and purposes, this year's event was a massive success. But despite that success, the venue management tried to torpedo the entire thing. These are folks that claim to be tolerant and inclusive and people that believe in human rights, but they forced me to eject 3 of my speakers this year. Those being my good friend Johnny B, my good friend Paul of Legally Armed America, and my friend Andrew Bailey, the Attorney General of Missouri, who, ironically enough, was there to give a talk about censorship. So how the hell did this happen? I've seen a lot of questions about this stuff, and I'm going to try to walk you through it. I'll start at the beginning. That's the obvious place to start. I think the biggest question some folks have is, how the hell did we end up in Cleveland, Ohio? Of all the choices, how did we end up there? Well, we relocated the event this year, and when I was searching for a venue, you guys told me loud and clear that being allowed to carry your legally concealed firearms was very important, so I made sure to include that in my criteria for selecting a venue. As I had already located a range for our media range day, it had to be somewhat close to that in Northeast Ohio. Almost every major venue in the area told us flat out no to you guys being able to carry, and I obviously wasn't going to stand for that. I was starting to get worried when I was running thin, and then through some mutual contacts, I ended up finding a space managed by a company that I won't name inside the Twist Drill building that we did end up using. You'll understand why I won't name it in a minute. Now, when I went for the walkthrough of the space, Nicole, the owner of the venue management company, agreed to allow us to concealed carry. We had a conversation about it. I assured her that we've had no issues in the past and that everyone that comes to GunCon is super respectful about it. Yet somehow she had concerns about protests from our people. I think the reasoning was that the venue allows for non-traditional weddings, and she thought that our folks, our attendees, would be very upset about that. I assured her that it wouldn't be an issue. Most people just don't care. I don't give a shit who gets married at a venue. I just assume that every venue welcomes money as a place of business. And I figured since we had a venue that was open to letting folks carry at a gun event, we were going to be good to go. It's a gun event full of gun enthusiasts and manufacturers. We're good to go, right? Not so much. While we were getting the contract sorted out, Nicole decided that she was no longer okay with the name of her venue management company being used in association with the event and included a clause in the contract for us to not use that name in promotions of the event. It's pretty weird, but I needed to get things rolling for this year, so I just went with it in order to make GunCon happen for you guys. There was also a note in the contract about 2,000 people being able to fit in the venue that day, and some things have come to light afterward that have made me wonder if they ever had a valid certificate of occupancy for the space. I don't know. I've never seen it. I'm not sure if I ever will. I will spare you the details of the absolute grind it was to work with the venue management for a successful event. They were not interested in helping us, even though we had paid them to be there. Fast forward to the night before our big public show day. I hadn't made it to sleep yet, still amped up from the creator night shoot that we had and trying to make sure I had everything ready for the show day. It's a big day, one of the biggest days of my entire year. And at 12:18 a.m., I received this email. Prepare yourself, because you're going to end up mad. It still makes me mad reliving this whole thing. I just get angry. The email starts out by saying, "We now understand why you declined to provide us with a list of speakers and vendors, and unfortunately, those omissions that are now being brought to light are deeply problematic. From the start, we expressed concerns about this event being hosted in the building and trusted your assurances that this would be a neutral conversation centered around gun-related interests. First off, we were never requested or required to provide a list of speakers or vendors for the venue management. They did ask me originally to provide contact info for all of the brands so they could individually contact them, and I said absolutely not, because I didn't want to add a bunch of confusion with who to talk to about the event. I didn't want someone sticking their face into things that didn't understand the event. The speakers were never requested, and on top of that, they were publicly available on the GunCon website, along with being announced on the Gun Collective and GunCon social media. It was all over the place. Not only that, but there were no actual concerns expressed to me at any point besides the weird concern about a protest. That was it. That's the only concern that was brought to my attention. Next is where they said they were upset about Andrew Bailey being included in the speaker list because he worked against some transgender issues, claiming that I deliberately hid this from them, which is fucking absurd because I publicly announced that he was coming. They then went on to formally request, as per some sections of the contract, to have Bailey removed from the event. They claimed that they didn't feel safe in the building and claimed that their safety was therefore at risk. Listen, if you think your safety is at risk because you disagree with someone's values or opinion, you are a fucking idiot. The sections of the contract that were utilized said, any marketing tools or materials displayed by client, me, or exhibitor/vendors, not speakers listed, will be only for the event itself or their brand/business and will avoid representing or referring to other initiatives not defined. I will reiterate that speakers are not listed there. Nothing of that sort happened, and on top of that, the word avoid does not mean hard no. There were other sections of the contract that stated they did have the right to exclude people based on actions or negligence. This was what they believe allowed them to do what they did in kicking Bailey out. This is boilerplate stuff. It's in a lot of contracts out there, and management twisted it to use it against me. It certainly didn't seem like this was in the spirit of working with me as a paying client with a gun event. It seemed specifically interpreted to kick people out with viewpoints that she specifically disagreed with. Again, this was at 12:18 a.m., just after midnight, the night before the big day. I slept for maybe an hour that night. My heart was just pounding with frustration and fear and disappointment. To my core, I hate letting people down, and I knew this was going to be a problem. At 6:14 a.m., I emailed, attempting to let them know that Bailey's presence was not something done out of malice, and that I would love to speak to her in person about a solution. Of course, she did not show up, but her husband did. He couldn't even look me in the eyes when I said I was trying to sort everything out. We had a ton of people who put their time, effort, and money into coming to GunCon, and I wanted to make sure that the event was still going to move forward. I did get a hold of Bailey's team and let them know what was happening. They were very understanding and respectful about it and assured us that they also wanted to make sure that GunCon would go forward, so they listened to the outlandish demand placed upon us. Now, by this point in the morning, I'm in the building running around trying to make sure that everything is going as planned. Obviously, it's not. I looked at my phone around 9:30 and realized I had yet another email from venue management. Now, the doors for the event open to the public at 10 a.m. By this point in the morning, there's a line of 500 people deep on the street waiting to get in. And the email said, there is an immense issue here. Johnny B, aka Appalachiabees, Thinktown Podcast, and Legally Armed America are more organizations that clearly and publicly have strong political and controversial platforms. They have all been brought to my attention from last night to now. Again, positions that directly conflict with a neutral conversation. Again, the significant lack of transparency with key aspects of the programming were deliberately withheld to avoid scrutiny. Now, I'll restate, There is nothing in the contract, and nothing was brought to me prior to this happening being concerned about anyone's political beliefs or platforms. This was not an issue until the day of the event. So that alone is weird. But the Think Town podcast that she mentioned hasn't been active since 2023, April of 2023. And I had never heard of it before that day. Paul was on it. Johnny and Paul were likely included in this because they have strong opinions about transgender and LGBTQ issues. I don't know for certain because it was never laid out for me. Also, because I think it's incredibly important to hear things from all angles, please go watch Johnny and Paul's videos that are linked in the description and subscribe to their channels if you want to support them. The repeated statements in these emails about withholding speaker info are just flat out ludicrous considering the amount of promotion we did and never being asked for it. So now I'm faced with tracking down my friends and having to go to them and tell them they are not allowed inside the building because the venue management was upset with them. Why they are upset? I'm not sure because the language they used in the email was incredibly vague. The amount of anger, disappointment, and just sadness in my body that day was palpable. I feel like my lifespan got a little bit shorter from the stress alone. I was stressed to the absolute max. All the while, the event is just ripping along, and I can't tell anyone outside of our team what's going on because I didn't want it to affect the event. Folks traveled from all over the country to be a part of GunCon, and I had to tell them that their favorite people weren't going to be there that day. It was rough for me, personally. Personally, I didn't want to have to do that. If you are one of those people that did come and you didn't get to see one of these three guys, I'm sorry that this happened. I hate it. I wish that it didn't go down like this. The last email I got from the venue management said this: "It seems that some of the speakers who were asked not to participate today had a very interesting understanding of the message I communicated to you. The few images attached are only a glimpse of what is going on, as I'm sure you're well aware. Someone has called our business phone with hate speech, and now from many people, the building, owners, and myself are all now receiving threats. Now we are very unsafe. Now we are a target for hate and harm." I don't know how they would get to these conclusions. I'll let you guys sound off in the comments about that last email. I'm going to let you guys comment on that. I will say that they earned every bit of criticism that they got that day. Trying to torpedo an event that had nothing to do with the claimed identity politics bullshit is ridiculous, and they earned the criticism. It's like, well, if it isn't the consequences of your own actions looking you right in the fucking face. And regarding the safety concerns, I'm going to make something very clear. I, Jon Patton, and therefore the Gun Collective and GunCon, firmly believe that gun rights are human rights. The Second Amendment has zero to do with who you're sleeping with, or how you identify, or whatever. The Second Amendment belongs to everyone. So I find it extremely frustrating when someone attacks my event based on identity politics and this insane logic about not being safe. That building was the safest and most welcoming place in Cleveland that day. In fact, I spoke to several members of the LGBT community that were also gun enthusiasts that attended the event and had an awesome time. It's just absurd to me that instead of trying to have a conversation, trying to learn, or even showing up in person to debate the issues they had, they chose to attack us. They chose to try and shut us down. That is not welcoming. That is not inclusive. And that is not the way forward. In the aftermath of the event, there were some folks, likely that did not attend, saying that we should have stood up to the venue management and just shut the whole thing down right then and there. Make a stand. That's exactly what they wanted. They wanted the event to stop. They wanted us to lose out. They wanted to throw a temper tantrum and celebrate that open-minded, inclusive thought died a little more that day. But we didn't allow that. GunCon went forward. And yes, there were a few hiccups. But I will be damned if this kind of thing will stop us. We will continue to be welcoming to gun owners of all types. We will continue to educate and grow a community of folks that believe in true freedom. GunCon will be back bigger and better than ever for 2026. Please consider subscribing to this channel if you want to see when that announcement comes out. It will happen in a few months, hopefully. I hope that this helps clarify what was going on that day and what actually happened. And I am very happy to know that so many of you had a great time at GunCon this year. And I hate that we all had to deal with this crap. I really, this is not where I want to be on this day. Anyway, thank you all for watching. We'll see you soon.